28 Years Later was not what I was expecting. Off the back of the now 23-year-old first film of the franchise, I thought I knew what I was going into with 28 Years Later, a chaotic, choppy, competent zombie survival thriller, just like its predecessors. A formula which for me worked very well. I loved 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, not as much, but meh. Sequels and all that. You don't really need to have seen either to watch 28 Years Later, but if you had to go for one, watch 28 Days. It's the better movie, plus they kind of retcon the ending of 28 Weeks Later anyway. But certainly, 28 Years Later stands on its own and is very much different than anything that's come before it, which I think for many would be concerning because the trailer does advertise this in a similar manner to the rest of the franchise. But by the end of the film, this is something very different, for better and indeed for worse. So I googled the official synopsis for this movie, and even that didn't really help me to capture what this movie actually is about, so here's my take. The infection remains quarantined on the island of Britain, with the rest of the world safe from the rage virus. We're introduced to a community taking refuge on another island, disconnected from the mainland by a rising and falling tide. And on that island, we meet a family who have a few ventures onto the mainland, and they might encounter an infected or two. And in this family, we meet the character of Spike, a curious, conflicted, heroic lad, played by Alfie Williams. And I mean, his performance was just phenomenal. One of those performances where you just get absolutely lost in what the actor's doing. And for a young lad of 14, this guy's definitely on the way. Speaking of which, if Ralph Fiennes doesn't get that Oscar win sometime soon, I'm gonna lose it, because this guy, don't get me wrong, he isn't winning the Oscar for this movie, but oh my gosh, his line delivery was flawless. He had me crying towards the end of this movie. His character is for sure one of, if not the best in the movie, providing philosophical reflection, emotional conflict, and a bit of comedy all rolled into one. And whilst the story builds to this character reveal and is effective in a way, you can't help but want more from this character. We don't get to see him enough in this movie, which I'm hoping we're going to get in January 2026 when the sequel for this film is released. But still, we shouldn't be clawing for more in this first film. I think there was an opportunity to develop this character even further. I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there that want justice for Aaron Taylor-Johnson after Kraven the Hunter, which is justified. And he does a solid job with what he gets, but you don't really see him throughout a good chunk of this movie. It's Jodie Comer who takes forefront center stage, who has a little bit more to work with. It would be easy to look at her character as one-dimensional, but if you take a closer look, the themes of the movie actually revolve around her. The overall themes surrounding our relationship with death and the peace that comes with the acceptance of the inevitable. This was a really engaging thread throughout most of the movie. It is indeed where it excels and sets itself apart from other zombie apocalypse films. It's mature, thought-provoking, and in a lot of ways more emotional than your standard Z adventure. And you know what? For the first 45 minutes of 28 Years Later, you do actually get that classic Z survival film before it then evolves into something more character driven. So in a lot of ways, you get best of both here. The overall world and lore are certainly expanded upon here, mainly in relation to the infected. You get a few different types. Firstly, slow-lows restricted to crawling and sprawling along the floor, hence their name. You've got your classic OG infected from the first two movies, as well as your alphas, who are stronger, faster, and tougher to take out. I appreciated the world building in 28 Years Later, but I was giggling pretty consistently throughout because there be full frontal in this movie. I'm talking dicks and titties out everywhere.
Ass and titties. Ass, titties, titties.
Honestly, I thought some of them were about to take off and fly into the air. The genitalia was just all over the place. I joke, but I was low-key a little bit disappointed because the infected from the first two movies were so scary and intimidating. But here I couldn't help but feel that the stakes were lessened a little bit and I was taken out of the moment by this full frontal. Still, most of the infected kills hit hard, and whenever you got an alpha on screen, you got a pretty spine-tingling kill. Anyway, I enjoyed 28 Years Later overall. It's a strong 7 out of 10 on the Rosenthal Reviews ranking. But I'm going to lower the score a little bit on the entertainment echelon because I don't think this is a movie you need to see right away in theatres. If you are going for that popcorn shoveling survival thriller, you're not going to get this as much as you think in 28 Years Later. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.